Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to this mini series of Voices of the Divine Feminine, hosted by myself, Kara Roy. And this is also brought to you by Radha's Publishing House. And today I have the absolute pleasure to sit down and interview the wonderful author from Stories of the Goddess, Michele Joy. Welcome, Michele.
Thank you so much, Kara. Thank you for having me. This is a pleasure. I haven't spoken about this book for a while, and I think just the reintroduction for myself is also been quite interesting. Yeah, so this is good. This is really good. Thank you.
You're welcome. I look forward to getting into it. So I will gently start off by reading your bio so that our viewers know who Michele Joy is. Michele Joy is a Wayshower, Polarity Integrator, and author who came into this lifetime with deep ancestral lineage distortions to resolve. Her soul contract has been running for lifetimes, which has meant enduring life after life of persecution and abuse as a feminine. Today, she is stepping more into her role as an
Emissary.
emissary. That was one word. Like, how do I say that?
Comes to me sometimes too.
Thank you very much. Emissary for the sacred feminine, who are still healing from persecution, oppression, and sexual misery programming throughout the multiple timelines on Earth. Michele holds soul codes of transformation and transmutation to support the feminine to reawaken to the divine love within them. I love that. So,
It's a deep dive, isn't it?
would you mind sharing a little bit with the viewers how your bio came to be? Because it sounds like you've had a journey with the divine feminine.
I sure have. I really have. When I was reflecting back, it's the deeper part of my journey with the divine feminine did kick off once Stories of the Goddess was published, and that is absolutely the truth. So the last year and a half, I always was connected to the Sophianic consciousness of the Divine Mother God, but I didn't really see myself as holding any particular like soul emergences or essences of emanations is probably the word I'm looking for, of any other kind of goddess. I did obviously feel connected to White Buffalo Calf Woman, but it was light on really compared to where I am now. I thought I'd done a lot of healing. I was always a big one with shadow work, working with my clients on that aspect. But what I'd found out after releasing that book was that a lot of my childhood was actually a lie. And there was so much more to what I'd experienced. And I knew there was a lot of trauma, but there was more. My body told me that. So this is why, our soma, our somatic sense is so important for all of us, but especially for us women. And I was called to work with plant medicine. I was called to work with ayahuasca. She literally called me in and bang, I found out the truth. And I've been finding out pieces of the truth ever since then. And it took me into a journey where I had to go into the more of the destructive goddess to kind of fragment myself. I was already so fragmented to almost fragment more and then pull the pieces back together. And this has led me to that bio, and it almost changed my soul purpose and mission of what I thought it was entirely. Never had I imagined I'd be, integrating darkness in this at this level. So yeah, I'm in new territory. I'm in a transformation phase, and I have always been one to expand and transform, but this is something new entirely. So it's both exciting and it's a little frightening because I'm in unknown territory, so all I can do is help others with what I've gone through and what I've embodied, and that's all any of us can really do.
Thank you so much for doing the work for you And then for allowing that, because that's first the biggest step, and then for having such a big heart to be able to continue to share with others. Because I know as well as a shadow worker myself and who's starting to help others more, it's a whole journey. So I see you and I celebrate you in your beautiful power and in your own journey of celebrating your shadow. Ah,
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. Yeah.
oh, you're welcome. So is your chapter, do you mind just filling us in on your chapter in the book? Which goddess did you connect and write about in your chapter?
Yeah, absolutely. And she's still part of my, my life. I've got a picture right here of her. It's White Buffalo Calf Woman. Um, and so that was really at that time. There was also, Mary Magdalene was coming in, and I was like, oh, who am I going to kind of write about? But it was definitely at that time and that stage of where I was, White Buffalo Calf Woman was the obvious heartfelt choice at the time. So, and she to me, she emanates, soul of Christ consciousness. She emanates the Divine Mother and peace and balance also between the masculine and feminine. And so the division of that kind of war consciousness that has been dividing the sexes, which has to change. And I still feel that. So she's still really relevant to me. And you wouldn't believe this. Like I use my Divine Feminine deck all the time. And I was just like, pull two cards before this interview started, and White Buffalo Calf Woman and Mary Magdalene were the two cards that I pulled. So it was just like another validation that they are part of my soul's journey in a big way. Yeah.
I think I know exactly which deck you're talking about. Is it a red deck?
Yeah, it's a very similar colorings to the Stories of the Goddess, the book cover. Yeah, it's quite red. It's got Mary Magdalene on the front.
I
Yeah.
have that deck as well. So when you said that, I pictured both of the cards, and of course, very fitting that they came out.
Yeah, absolutely. They're perfect.
Mm. And would you mind sharing a little bit about what the creative process was for you in coming up with your chapter?
It was really, I mean, it was a direct channel. Um, it was an easy flowing process, and that's partly because of Radha and who she is, and also her company, because she just emanates that divine feminine flow. And she just had so much confidence in me. I didn't know where that was coming from, and I'm just like, well, I know we've shared things. We've all of us had shared things with Radha in previous lifetimes, that's for sure. But and that confidence, even from that distance that we hold geographically, I just felt that, and it just came in really streamlined, as a lot of good writing does, um, because it comes from the heart and from the higher part, part of us, that higher self. So yeah, it was fluid. I didn't know what the message was. Obviously I had to tune in to White Buffalo Calf Woman and see what she wanted to say through me as a channel, as a vessel. And the rest was ease and grace, which kind of is really about her. She looks like a warrior goddess and on the card, but she's all peace and love really at the core of her.
Beautiful. I love that. And I feel like that's how your energy emanates too, where there's such a peace and love too. Just in the 5 minutes of how we connected before, there's a peace and love energy that you emanate in such a beautiful way. So, what a perfect aligned goddess to have come through.
Absolutely, she is.
And would you mind sharing what has happened for you since the book has released? Because I know that you had mentioned that this was kind of the seed to a whole bunch for you. So we got
Yeah,
time.
yeah, I did tell you a little bit about that before. So yeah, it did trigger. I because I didn't realize it until we were, sitting. I was thinking back, but it did trigger. That's when everything started. I was not long with my divine counterpart, and obviously new relationships also trigger. So it wasn't all the book, but the book was just, it was all in the divine flow and timing, and coming in with him, coming together, and as beautiful partnerships do, that can sometimes trigger you to go deeper into your healing. And obviously, I wasn't ready to go into the Mary Magdalene piece back then. I needed to stay with White Buffalo Calf Woman. She was just where I was at. I was much more in the light. But since then, big journey into the darkness, more than I you know, like I said, I thought I already had, but there was so much more. And I don't think I kind of integrated my shadow and my light appropriately at that stage. Even though if you had have said that to me back then, I would have said, no, that's not true. But since I've obviously discovered so much more about myself, and I've welcomed that, because before I used to be, oh no, I'm all light, I'm all love. Yes, I've got a past. Yes, I've got that. I've forgiven all of that. But I didn't realize that there's a form of spiritual bypassing that was happening. But it's also about at the same time that it wasn't the right time. So sometimes we do spiritually bypass until the right time comes along, and then we have to deep dive in. And I think I needed to meet my masculine at the time, and he has both been a safe container and a trigger. And that balance has allowed me to just dive in really deep and fall apart, quite honestly, so I can put the pieces back together. And it's been a journey, but I'm so grateful for that journey, to go into that darkness and emerge as more divine love. And I thought I was already holding divine love, but not like now.
Once
Not
you
like
have that connection to both the dualities, it deepens love in such a way.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely. For self and others, of course, you know, for all of it.
exactly. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
And have you had more experiences with these two goddesses or with more goddesses since the book has come out?
Yeah, well, Mary Magdalene's coming in now a lot more, like in a clearer sense, and part of, you know, the soul emanation and the lineage of the rose. But what's really come back is because I had a level of deep trauma through lifetimes. Like, I didn't know this, but I did know it, but I didn't know it so consciously. Persecution, prostitution, forced breeder program, really dark stuff that, you know, I guess we don't really need to go into it all, but I do go into it with the work I do now with people if it comes up. Because this is a reality for a lot of us feminines. It's not just the stuff we've endured in this life, but it's what we've endured lifetime after lifetime sometimes. And so I was in a reincarnation loop here on Earth, and I just thought it was back to my shamanic roots because I've got a lot of all of that. But no, it's been beyond that. It's been from Lemuria, and, you know, maybe even, no, Lemuria is when I think it started, or Mu. And so the level of infiltration and genetic manipulation that had happened, really caused me to kind of need to go in to look at the destruction of the goddess. So Kali came in for a little bit. But what also happened is that I have realized my progenitor race of Hydra. And I don't know if you've heard of Hydra. She's more of an occult star system, one that a lot of people don't touch on because she's been so demonized as Medusa. And all of the pagan history that I have had, you know, persecution of witchcraft and abusing our gifts. And I'm sure, you know, a lot of women have this kind of wounding in them somehow, whether it's in the ancestral lineage or if it's within them. So that's what's sort of been revealed to me. So then Mary Magdalene's come in with, I can see her now because of the persecution, the labeling as a prostitute, as a whore, and all of that. And, you know, and I'm getting massive goosebumps here, but like that is something that we deeply have to heal. And so she's now been there with me to help me heal that. And even the story of a white buffalo calf woman, she was stronger though, you know, when those two men approached her, as the story goes, she was able to put the one that was kind of lecherous and predatory in his place straight away. Whereas, you know, Mary Magdalene has done it in a more gentle way and just emanating divine love. And that's where it's come back to. The fight has to go. And I was in that fight place for some time. And then we come back to, hang on, let's remember that why we are here is to bring back that template of divine love. And we might have to go through the destructive phases, but in the end, ultimately, we come back to the peace. Yeah. Sorry if
Thank you.
that was a bit long-winded. That was a bit long-winded. I probably took you on a journey.
No, that was a beautiful journey. It was an amazing. I followed it. I'm sure our viewers did too, but that was absolutely amazing. And that is what's so beautiful is the fact that you've let yourself fall apart to come back together and to come back together in such a more unified way, because not only have you accepted your light, which you've accepted since the beginning, from what it sounds like, but now you've also integrated your shadow. And in reality, when we look at the world we live in, it's very dualistic. So to
Mm.
have that understanding and that compassion for the duality within self allows you to accept everything else so much more. So I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Well put. That's beautifully said.
Thank you. I also work with dualities as well. So there's
Oh,
that,
very
that
nice.
understanding.
Good.
Mhm. So we're going to dive into a little bit more of a shadow question. How do you feel about feminine rage and how it's been caged over the last centuries? And then also, how do you feel about feminine rage through the expression of creation and expansion?
Yeah, it's a great question. If you had have asked me that question, just 2 years ago, I would have given you an entirely different answer. And now I feel like it is, there's that rightful anger that we need and that rage. And I didn't realize that I held a lot of that rage inside of me. And I think, a lot of us women who are quite gentle and empathic and sensitive, which of all the things that I am, and you probably are too, we don't want to admit that there's rage in us, but we have to go there. And it is a form of creation, because that's how I got the pieces. The destruction came in, so I could put the pieces together. And I feel like there might be another piece of that in me left to go. And so I never say it's all done, because we can never say it's like it's cyclical. um I had to get angry at what had occurred to me. It occurred, what had happened to me. And then when you find out it's been going on for lifetimes, and you've kind of been tricked into agreeing to it again, because this is the reality of some of the manipulation that happens on our beautiful planet. It's not obviously all love and light, as we probably know. Yeah, we have the right to get angry as a creative force to come back into the piece. I think the problem happens is when we stay in that rage and we don't use it for what it's good for, because rage helps, and anger and expressing that, move it out of the body. And I caught myself on a couple of occasions wanting to, because I'm a breathwork instructor, pranayama as well, and I caught myself wanting to just, when I felt it rise, wanting to go and do breathwork to kind of make it subside. And it's like, no, go and yell, go and stomp, go and punch pillows, go and do anything else, but go and honor that rage. And it is a creative force, because without me feeling that rage, I wouldn't have been able to create the kind of container for myself that I'm now building. Yeah. And the chaos, yeah. Sometimes we've got to fall to pieces and be in the chaos, because that is a part of the feminine too.
Mhm. I love that. Thank you so much for that answer. It's so in line with for my own journey as well. And I love what you said too about there's such a rageful part of creation. And so much can come out of that side where we can tap into our light and receive so much from it. But there's so much creation that has come as well in all of our world from the shadow as well. So beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And how do you, or how are you witnessing the rise of the goddess in our current world right now?
For the most part, I mean, I've been a bit tapped out. I must admit, I've been still seeing my clients, but I've been really in my own processes. Um, for the most part, I see it as quite positive. I'm witnessing that women are returning to honor themselves and their natural beauty. Um, if they want to show up looking like a goddess, they can, but quite often, like, I'm showing up with no makeup, and I feel almost more beautiful like that in my natural state. So I feel like there's that presence that's coming up, and we're honoring body consciousness as well, in a more healthy way. Sometimes I feel like the word priestess gets tossed around a little bit too often, and stuff like that. But at the same time, if that's what builds confidence for people, so long as it doesn't become into spiritual ego, I feel like it can be quite healthy as a stepping stone. Many of us have been priestesses. Many of us are reclaiming those arts, the temple arts, and that's all beautiful. Um, but we can't forget that the divine masculine still has a ways to go, and that's going to help the feminine. And that's part of what I wrote about in Stories of the Goddess, and I still feel that very strongly. I used to defend the masculine a lot, and then I got very angry after what I learned, because it's at the hands of the masculine that a lot of this trauma has happened. But it's not necessarily the angelic human masculine, it's another race or a few races entirely, and the masculine has been tagged, implanted, and programmed to a similar extent, maybe not the same as the feminine. And so as they rise in a more healthy way, I think we'll see the divine feminine come into her own in a real, in the way, in a sacred way that she's supposed to. But we're starting off well, let's just say. But it's not all about us. It's harder for the men, though, I feel, unfortunately. And yeah, there's a ways to go, but I'm so happy. We're going to bring back our original templates. I just know we are. We're in it and we're doing it.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for bringing up the masculine. Going back to the polarities aspect of it, exactly. For for the feminine to be able to rise, there's also the duality of the masculine. And I fully agree with you in that there's such an awakening. I'm noticing an awakening within the masculine that a lot of feminines have experienced already. And it's that holding the space for it, but also allowing the masculines to do the work within themselves. So holding that nurturing energy, but also remembering, because in the end, we are our own beings and we have to walk through our own fires to be able to come out much stronger on the other side. So as
Yeah,
the
good
feminine,
point. Good point. We can't hold ourselves back waiting for the masculine, for example. And I feel like, yeah, some women do that in their partnerships, and I've been there. Um, and we've also got to remember that Mu and Lemuria were very matriarchal, and there was a distortion in that, because what the response was Atlantis, which was very patriarchal, and that's led to a patriarchal distortion on Earth, where we've dropped in density. And so now everyone says Lemuria is rising, and that's wonderful, but we've got to do it with balance between the masculine and feminine, or at least a lot more, because otherwise we've got to repeat. That's my sense of things anyway. Like, I could be right really off, but that's my intuition, that's my heart speaking. And like I said, I've still got some anger at some of the masculine stuff, but I also know that they've been hijacked. Their energy bodies have got all this kind of predatory or kind of implanting in them. And this is part of the work that I do now, and is to remove those. And they'll speed up their progress a lot more when, I think, we realize how much of it has been distorted, and we give them a little bit of compassion while still having our own sovereignty and boundaries in that too. Yeah.
exactly. And coming back, I feel like there's almost the connection between the lower chakras and the higher chakras aligning into the heart chakra and then
Yes.
projecting out, like all I see is just Care Bears.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then changing the topic just a tiny bit, what was your experience of working with Radha's publishing house?
Oh my God, that was just such, look, it was an easy process, even being over here in Australia. There was some workshops I couldn't always attend, but like Radha she's pretty well organized, and she made everything flow simply. Her team as well. I really found it to be quite an easy process. I'm not sure, I think it was just divine timing for a lot of us, but it was also very supportive. Like, when we did all get together, everybody was just like that sisterhood, which is something that I had to heal from. I've not really had much of that in my life. So there was peace that, I can see why some of my journey then unfolded after that, because I was like, oh, I've got a wound with the feminine as well, so much, and the mother, and I saw this sisterhood, and I was like, I don't really have that in Australia. And so for a little while, I just kind of like was like, that's what we need more of. And I know Radha is a big one for that, and she likes to encourage other women, and she knows that there's space for us all to have exactly what we're divinely supposed to in our inheritance. And what is meant for us is meant for us, and we don't need to feel competitive against other women. And so that's something that I've always felt that was missing from the world that she embodies.
Hmm.
And I know in her company she is aiming, she's always aiming for that. So it was a good process in that sense. There's lots of workshops to encourage and enhance your writing skills as well. That's all available. And from memory, like there was quite a few processes and quite a few things available if you wanted them, but they weren't compulsory. So very flexible.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And what would you say was your favorite part as a whole of working with Radha and or with working with Radha's publishing house?
I'd say it was that bit. I'd say it was a sisterhood. I'd say, even though I didn't get to go to all of them, like I said, but when I did, particularly the closing, I remember the closing ceremony, we were all sort of read out our chapters, or an excerpt of our chapters, and everyone was so encouraging. There was so much love in that space. It was a delight. It gave me an example of what sisterhood is meant to be like, and yeah.
So beautiful. I'm so happy that you got to experience that through that and to create that seed for yourself to continue to manifest it in. Ah, sisterhood is wonderful.
It is. Yeah, it really is.
And would you be able to describe working with Radha's publishing house in one word? And then if you would like to explain the word after, you totally can.
For me, this is the word that comes up, is fluid. I know it's a strange word, right? But there was flow. It really wasn't challenging. Um, there wasn't any, once it got going, there was like no resistance from me, no resistance. Like it was just, yeah, it was fluid. There was ease. So I'd say one of those two words.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And would you mind sharing a little excerpt from your book with our viewers?
Yeah, of course. Well, I was having a look before going, which bit am I going to read? And I've just picked a small bit that I think really is kind of the key message, that will stand the test of time, and what we need now, and what I think I always need to remind myself as well. Okay. So White Buffalo, and look just at that cover. I mean, that cover is stunning. I love the cover. White Buffalo Calf Woman is an aspect of divine feminine Christ, the Sophia divine mother consciousness. She asks us to remember that we are encoded with the divinity of love and encompass all, including shadow. But this should be addressed, not ignored. Shadow work is to be used as a tool for mastery and reunification with our Christ consciousness. She tells me that the problem is that many beings only remember their shadow and have forgotten their light. So the earth plane is still full of souls in pain. They bury their shadow using false kinds of light in the form of addictions and avoidant behaviors to make themselves feel slightly better in the short term. But overall, these false kinds of light block their connection to their divinity. Many don't remember their true divine essence, their soul light, or if they do, they don't trust this remembrance because of how dense the programming has been on this planet. We have been overlaid with a great density level, making it hard to trust our intuition and soul wisdom. But through her frequency holders, White Buffalo Woman sends the message of faith and teaches us to cultivate inner peace and to trust our hearts for guidance. The divine knowing comes from the divine light within our hearts. Once you open the heart chakra and then go up to the higher heart chakra, you bring forth your true wisdom codes. And then, my divine sisters of light, you will start to feel what and who you truly are, an incarnate being of divine light, a representation of the divine embodied in human form. Before your soul chose to come here, you knew of the veiled human experiences that you were to experience. You may have come in peacefully, full of confidence and courage for success in your mission, or you may have come in reluctantly, realizing the challenges before you. Either way, you still came knowing so much, but forgetting almost all for the journey back to your deepest core soul mastery. So now is the time to take up your throne of self-love, dear Queen. because from the transcendence of your human trauma, you can shower all others with the same love you show yourself. Once you have felt your essence, you will know no doubt nor fear, because your once wounded heart will open to receive and give in equal portions. This is your natural organic state of being. These are the keys and codes that your soul holds.
Wow, that was so powerful. I've never heard her described in such a beautiful flow of encapsulating all parts of you. So thank you so much for bringing that forward and then allowing that to be published as well. How
You're
did it feel
welcome.
sharing that?
Well, it was a bit scary, I'm not going to lie. But it's really empowering because I feel like she does that to us, that her frequency. So, and she is the prophetess of divine love. And so she's here to teach us that love all parts of ourselves and come into unity and integration. So yeah, it was empowering as well. The fear part was just the human, ego part, but the empowering comes from the soul.
So beautiful. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And
Well,
where can our viewers find you if they would like to know more and or work with Michele Joy?
well, I guess YouTube actually is the easiest place. I'm Sacred Healing Journeys. That's my business name on YouTube. And Sacred Healing Journeys, like if you look for that on Instagram and Facebook, I think you'll find me. I do have like a really exciting container coming up, which is a Golden Temple, a Marian womb healing, which I'm going to release when I come back from overseas. I'm going there next month, and then when I come back, I'm going to put that together. We're going to go through a Lemurian regression session and help women remember their divine essence. We do need to step into traumas through that. We need to step into, sexual abuse, womb healing, birth traumas, whatever it is that we've all endured. And from that, we walk through the temples and clear it. And I'm really excited about offering this as a container of like 1, 2, 3 sessions. I haven't decided yet. And yeah, my YouTube channel will also have like meditations and just a few things. And it's also stepped a lot of my viewers through the journey, of just what I've been going through. So I'm sometimes raw on there, and I feel like that's part of what we also need to do as well, is to open up and show our true vulnerability. Let's not stay surface. Let's really go into what we've been through, but let's not also stay in victimhood either and go, that is a gift actually that we're here to bring to the planet. What we've endured and what we've overcome as our death rebirth cycles is part of our genius and our gift, and let's honor that. Let's honor that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, thank you so much. Is there anything, little last wisdom or nugget of knowledge that you would like to share with our viewers before we depart?
Make peace with your past. Make peace with your past, no matter how deep and dark it was. And through that journey of making peace and accepting all of you, even your shadow, with love, you will be able to emanate the divine love that you actually are. But only until you've made peace with your past can you really embody that divine love.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for emanating that as well yourself by having that beautiful duality within self and having done the work for you, for others as well.
You're so welcome.
Thank you so much for taking the time today, for connecting, for chatting, for sharing all of your wonderful wisdom. And for our viewers, please take a moment to go check out Michele Joy and see what she's up to, and reach out if you are called to join her containers. And thank you, Michele, for joining us today and for connecting on the Divine Feminine.
Thank you, Care. Thanks for having me. And thank you for giving me your time. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. And have a beautiful rest of your day. Continue to shine so brightly. We have all got this.
Absolutely.